feel like it's like a teal color. Not there where it was.
The Blitz?
The Blitz.
I have not.
That one's a fun ride.
I have water, I have conditions in mind. So it is remarkably low right now in everywhere, on the East Coast at least, that I know of. And there's some insulation with some of the musky water that it is, that's within the managed TVA system, so reservoir fishing. But the Freestones, the French Broad, the Nolichucky, it's crazy low. I mean, you're in places where you really shouldn't be able to hang up or see your fly. It's just every cast, and you're rowing by log jams that are up here, and those are underwater normally. And so we have a lot of spooky fishing ahead of us, although it is raining and cloudy outside. And leave it to me to not be fishing. That said, I'm not fishing because my daughter is singing some spooky songs for kindergarten. I just got goosebumps thinking of that. That's to grow up fast. It's all true. Everything you hear, some of it at least. So I'm going to see that. Go do that instead of, oh, you know what? I'm also going to tie a rattle on here. So Beetlon that I don't use, I kind of like to do too, because one doesn't feel as sturdy. I do need to go find. I'm actually going to go do that. This whole camera thing that's been driving me bonkers for months, years, is because I just have shitty memory cards. I've gotten the high speed SD or micro SDs, with high bit rate read speeds for the GoPro because it has 2.7K, 4K, whatever. Not that my computer actually is capable of processing that, but that's a story for another year. And the card in that sucks ass. The card in this camera is pretty good. I'd like to get even better ones, but they just let me record for longer without it automatically shutting down. It's interesting. I encourage you, if you have any interest in this whatsoever, which you probably shouldn't, unless you're doing something involving recording. But basically the camera is trying to put data into the card at a rate it's almost like it builds up a cache is how I envision it. I don't actually know some of this stuff. After I look into it, I'm like, all right, I have a pretty good understanding of this. I'll make up, it's like fishing. I'll just make up the rest of it. I'm like, yeah, it's like a cache. So at some point there's too much, it's like too backlog, and you're reaching the maximum write speed. And that really hasn't explained anything. But for me, it's like, oh yeah, you gotta restart it and clear the cache. I'm like, all right. Yeah, same with fishing. And this is, Beetlon that I don't use, 7-strand. I'll say this on every video. I really don't anticipate that people are going to be religiously tuning in. I'm sure one or two folks will be looking for a gem or two. A lot of folks will be new, as I am on my skyrocketing growth. So just tying in hand, you can wire, mono, whatever you want. This is how you tie bucktail onto mono or rattles onto wire. Pinching, pinching, couple wraps there, and then you'll have to make sure that this has some tension, or that your whatever bobbin has a good amount of tension. Otherwise it'll hit you in the face. So I'm going to back that off. And then I'll be real cool. Just barely this right bobbin or whatever this is. It's like a drag that isn't smooth. So once you get past that speed, whatever speed I've set it at, it really wants to go. Check that. Once you get past the centripetal force, which has to do with radius, so it compiles quickly. Farther that thing gets away from the, you know what I'm saying. I was thinking about how I could describe the, I'm just going to talk until this thing shuts off. How I could describe the pressure difference. This stuff isn't important anyways. On top versus below, because especially with these flies and absolutely in the head, I like to pay attention to this process with game changers and tying anything near hook bends. I'm really starting to put more material on top very consciously. And I think historically it was, I did it consciously, but you know, sometimes I would just push it around or whatever. It would be there. And now, I mean, you look at some of these flies and they can't, and that's the thing. This is that beastly hollow. I actually need to put probably like one pencil. This gap is really big, so I'm just gonna hold that up. Put another pencil into this little second tie. Hey, you know what? Since I have this camera rolling and I have those long fibers out, I'll just do that now. And this is how I adjust game changers. If you tie with body tubing, you are afforded the opportunity, if your fly sucks, to fold that body tubing. If you tie good thread dams and you know you're not using a crazy amount of material, you can also do it. This is what I wanted to show you. Whatever, I'll take a picture. Fucking the lots of pros to the DS. There's way more pros than cons to the DSLRs, and I just gotta figure out how to manage them. There's no material on these, and it helps keel, but also when you're moving it helps keel on the pause, the kill, but it helps to, as you're pulling it, there's more stuff up here. There's more friction. the water is technically moving over more surface area when there's more stuff, which means in the same amount of distance, top versus bottom, same amount of time, I should say, it's going over a bigger distance, which means it's going faster, and that creates lift, not lift total, lift relative to the bottom. So what that means, if it's here and you give it a strip, it's going to come back up to the top. Would a hook with some fucking grass tied to it catch fish some days? Probably. But this stuff exercises the parts of my brain that, for whatever reason, for me, need to be exercised. And this little thing is something I've been wanting to do for. Show you two different things. One, you see me put pictures up. I mean, guys on my boat will see flies and they're, see it in the water. Oh, I'm like, dude, I've probably cut that apart. I mean, legitimately, some of the changers, I'll go to the middle section and clean it outside of the body tubing if I have tied with body tubing. Absolutely nothing left. And just retie a section in hand because I can tell fishing it that, this one section is off. And it's not a matter of trimming. It's like, I fucked up. So you don't get that until you go out and fish it. And yesterday, I mean, it looks pretty good, but since this is not, we're back. When you're putting super glue on your thread from up here, it can drop onto your spool of GSP. That's no bueno. So, I just noticed that I wanted some bigger shoulders. It's laying down a little. I want bigger shoulders on this. And if you haven't learned to whip finish in hand or with your hand, you should. Because you can also do that. I'll bring a bobbin out on the water and, you can do that to, if a fly line breaks and you need to put some leader on and it's cold and you don't want to tie a nail knot. And, there's just, it's a handy trick. And then that's like the only thing that I do that isn't tying. But a lot of the surgeries that happen are made easier and these are fucking freak. So the long ones are 7. I'm going to let those hang out and use the, let's say 6.5. 5.5, 6. We'll take that. Not an exact science here. Stop cutting. And I actually want this. Where do I want this? Yeah, we're going to do it here. I just moved all those in front. This might be in the deleted scenes. So right in that crevice, crescent troughs, right in that thread trough, we're just gonna put this like 35% of a pencil, and this pencil is one of those, you know, the number twos that were like wood, and then there were those composite ones. If you willingly got those composite ones as a kid, I don't even care if I never have a chance of meeting you. I'd like you to stop watching this. I don't want any affiliation with you ever. The pencil was all soft, like the lead. God, it was all bendy. What a disaster. So like 35% of one of those, as opposed to the wooden ones, which have a slightly smaller diameter. So it would be about between 38 and 41% of those wooden number twos. And since that's not an easy round number, I like 35. And once you get that whip, you really don't need to it doesn't need to go crazy. You just make sure you're coming all the way around your material. Close your fingers. Come back around. And then and even not tying in hand, tying with GSP, I tend to put in a whip on that, doing these reverse ties on that tie before I move in front of the bucktail for the thread dam. Which now we have a lot of pressure. Same trough, tying in the same trough. But we just put more bucktail and more thread, so it's wanting to blow up forward, which I don't necessarily want. I think when swimming, because this is a pretty sparsely tied, very long bucktail fly, it'll right size in the water, but because I like what I like, and once again, not that hard. Not much material on the bottom. I'm letting that bobbin hang down. If I catch one or two, that's cool. And here, when I'm spinning it around, I just put my thumb right where I don't want it to be, and that bobbin just pops right in the other side. And then you just use your thumbnails to guide where that thread goes. Or whatever, you know. If you can do this with your pinkies, that's pretty cool. So it's pretty squished back. Keep going and then get right up to the base again. And go real tight there. Walk a few forward. That super glue is still doing its thing. Couple whips. And since I took the time to tie this sparsely with long bucktail, I'm not going to put more on than that. I'm going to swim it. I'm guessing that'll make a difference. It wouldn't surprise me if I needed to do another one of those ties. But yeah, there's some things that don't really need to be hurried. If it came down to fishing this, it was already good. I still have puppy dog pals stuck in my head. Going on a mission, going on a mission. Do some surgery. If you tie a changer or a big fly that's pretty awesome, except maybe some part of it isn't that awesome, and so it ends up not being sweet, and it's just fucking sitting there, or I don't know. Some of them, it's just like it's so close. The ones that are so close feel like they kind of bother me more because you just know that a little tweak can make a difference. Take it out of the vise. Tie it in your hands. And make it awesome. Have fun chasing muskie this winter, or if you're up north, have fun drinking. See you soon.